Good morning. So today we're going to start our first reading unit now that you all have reading books and we're starting to set reading goals. And this is going to be called Creating Theories About Characters. And today in particular, we're going to look at how you should expect characters to be complicated and show more than one trait. So during today's lesson, what I'm going to have you look at is what traits would you use to describe your character, the main character of your independent reading book, and what evidence from the story would you use to back up your inference or your guess as to saying that this trait describes this character. One thing we have to keep in mind when we are looking at character traits are the difference between traits and emotions. So here I have this little sheet here. An emotion is something a character feels, okay? So a character might, excuse me, wrong sheet. I do this. A character might feel scared, but characters all act in different ways when they're scared. Some people are really timid. There's one of your words that we use with the context clues. And they hide and they're nervous. Others who are scared are more brave. And they might be reckless or rebellious and break rules. So characters can feel different ways throughout a book, and all characters feel happy and scared and nervous, but not all characters are timid. Not all characters are rebellious and break rules. You might notice that I am referring back to the vocabulary words that you had to use with your context clue sheet. And you could certainly add those vocabulary words into your journal entry today to describe one of your characters. And you're going to notice I use a lot of them to describe our character Luke from Among the Hidden. So when you're thinking about your character traits today, you want to create a journal entry. Now, a couple of things to remember about journal entries. You should only jot for about 10 minutes in your journal, and they're like notes. So spelling and grammar don't count. Sometimes I would say it's okay to only jot for 5 minutes. You don't have to labor over your reading journal. It's just a place to keep notes about your characters, the things happening in your stories, and some themes or ideas that are happening in your stories. So spelling and grammar, again, don't count. And you can choose a variety of options, whatever works best for you when creating your reading journal. So today I'm going to show you how you could create an emotional timeline. Ooh, this isn't showing up very well. The best laid plans. Those of you that have me in class are laughing right now because you know me. All right. So, this is not showing up well. Anyway, an emotional timeline has kind of the emotions at the top and maybe the traits at the bottom. So like Luke in the very beginning of the story is really happy. He plays outdoors. Even though he's a third child and it's illegal, he still enjoys his life, and I think he's pretty carefree. He's not really that worried about the population police. He doesn't have to hide at this point. But then the trees come down, and he starts to feel scared. His parents give him several warnings. The woods come down, and because he's scared, he's then very timid. He's also very cautious and is a rule follower. He stays inside. He follows most of the rules. I mean, I think at one point we had said he hadn't been out of his attic for 6 months. That could be another piece of evidence that I add down there. Then he starts to get really angry and lonely. And again, angry and lonely are those emotions. But this is when his mom's at work and his house feels like a prison. And because he's angry and lonely, He then starts to break some rules or become a little rebellious or reckless because he plans to sneak out of his house and meet the other third child. So you can see how Luke is several different traits. You want to make sure you have at least more than one trait to describe your character. And you could make an emotional timeline like me, that has the character emotions of happy, but also has some traits. And I am going to attach a picture of a whole bunch of different traits that you could choose from. But sometimes it helps to start and think about the emotion that the character's having, and that might help us figure out a trait. And remember, in emotion, all characters have all emotions throughout books, but how they act when those emotions happen are the traits. So another option that you might want to do here is a web. So you're going to love my drawings. My kids at school love my drawings. Oh, there we go. Not very good with technology. So we have Among the Hidden and Luke. And so one trait that would describe Luke we decided was cautious. And then I have my evidence here. He always checks the rooms for blinds that are closed before entering. You could have added that he counts all the scratches of the people in the neighborhood to make sure they've left like 5 times before he sneaks out of the house. He's definitely unconfident. And this is something I didn't touch upon in my emotional timeline. But you'll see here that, let's see if we can get it to clear up. Give it just a second. Here, he's unconfident, and he doesn't speak up when he's given an order. He has to eat on the stairs and stay in the attic, and he doesn't really feel the confidence in himself. He is most definitely obedient. He stays hidden in his bedroom. He follows those rules. Oh, it's coming in now. Now, I put depressed and lonely, and I'm thinking about that one. I'm thinking that might be more, well, the lonely would definitely be the feeling, and maybe depressed is how he acts when he's lonely. He eats alone on the stairs, and he feels left out. He sees his 4 brothers and 2 parents and 2 brothers and 2 parents and thinks they're a complete family of 4. And he is a little jealous at times of some of his brothers. So we have here a web. The thing with the web is you want to have the traits, you can still have the feelings, but you really, really, really need that evidence, the specific evidence. And you'll notice that these are just jots. Like, they're not wicked long sentences, but they're very specific jots. If you wanted to just write out a little bit about your character, you could do that too. So if you just wanted to explain that at the beginning of my book, my character is like this because of this, and you would have to use the evidence from the story, that would be okay. And remember, you have to describe more than one trait. Don't worry if you haven't finished the book. I want you to just talk about your character up till now, and you don't need to do every little thing. Think of those big events and moments, or how your character is most of the time, kind of like we're doing with the most important event. So your job again today is to make a journal entry in your reading notebook. You're not going to submit it to me. You may choose a web or a written explanation or an emotional timeline. You need to describe more than one trait, and you need to have that evidence from the book. All right, good luck.